Welcome back to my 3-month experiment to try to document and share some of what it's like as I try to return to work after burnout. I am doing a different video this week. I have been too busy to do a nice edited one of what's actually been happening. So I am going to continue to paint this Taurus symbol, T-O-R-U-S, because it's something that I need and want to do for, this is how I even want to start this. I don't know how I want to do this. I really don't. That's pretty much the truth about everything that I'm doing as I try to figure out how to work again. Someone asked me on a video I posted the other day, what are some of the kinds of work that I want to engage with? And I thought maybe I would answer that question. Maybe I need a second to just figure out what I'm going to paint first. Where do I start painting? This is all like really hard for me. And I go through differing stages of how I feel about it. Because what I'm doing does not really, quite frankly, make a lot of sense to my brain. But for whatever reason, I really believe in trying to approach the question of what I do for work this way, which is that I don't really have a specific job I am aiming to get, and I'm not trying to solve it by, quote, finding that job. What I'm trying to do is notice how I want to relate to the conditions that I think would make a job possible. It kind of, or that maybe isn't the right way to put it. I feel emotional right now as I'm saying this. I think there's part of me that feels like I can't and shouldn't share this until I know what I'm doing, because I feel like so much of the way that we present ourselves in the world especially online is like, here are the answers that I have figured out. And I think I really don't believe I have answers for anyone, let alone for myself. And any answers that I do find, if that's even the right word, I don't really think it is. But what I do find is probably, like, I don't know if it's for anybody but me, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't make sense. One of the things I try to do when I feel myself kind of getting in, like, this is not exactly how well, hold on, let me pause. How I want to relate to all of what I'm doing, including this documenting work, including this painting, including everything, is with an ability to stay present with my experience and to find a state of what I term integrity. And I think integrity is a term that's often sort of assigned like a moral weight, like, oh no, I'm getting stuff. It's okay. Hold on. Hold on. Sometimes. Okay. I'm getting paint everywhere. I wonder if this is something that I can do at the same time, or if this was an experiment that doesn't work, or maybe doesn't work isn't the right word. But really, this is actually a good example of what I've been doing for the past 3 months, especially since I decided I had actually long before that decided that at that time point, I needed to start figuring out how to make money, or intending to exchange for money again, or resources. What I've really been doing since then, and since I burned out in general, is just experimenting. So this, me talking while I'm painting, is an experiment. Me documenting for 3 months, making that commitment, which is like, I'm trying to sort of increase my commitment, trying out short-term commitments and seeing how they feel. That's an experiment. Making this art, which is part of a number of pieces I'm making, which there's a whole long backstory about my relationship with art, because I also lost my ability to paint when I burned out. This is an experiment. All of it is an experiment, and I'm really trying to keep that mindset rather than be attached to the outcome, and keep that mindset rather than be striving for how do I make money? How do I make money? How do I make money? But I'll be honest that is hard. I very consistently am getting back into a place where my brain is scared and wants to just figure out, how does this turn into money? Because the way I'm experimenting is not really obvious to me how I'm going to make money. Okay, one of the things I feel right now. So maybe I should explain what this is, which is like me doing this may look like this specific video experiment may look a little bit random. It may look like I'm talking very non-linearly and aimlessly, which is something that I definitely do in general, but especially I think in the kind of vacuum of being on a video and not having anyone on the other side of it really tangibly. But this is like part of 3 things that I'm trying to put myself in situations where I have to develop or have to test my relationship with either my own creative output, with exchange of energy itself in whatever form that is, or with my own creative output, or ones that bridge multiple aspects of that, which arguably some of this definitely is. And so this is me, I think, relating to other people and to my energy and to my expression. I am finding it hard to talk and paint at the same time, I think. And I do wonder, like, do I just stop? or do I commit because I'm experimented? That's one thing. But I think one of the things I'm starting to realize is a lot of times I feel like my experiments don't work and I have not put them out there. Like I have so many things that I have in the past year and change that I have not put out because I felt like this experiment didn't work and it's not going to be interesting for other people. But I think I'm just at that point where like I just really need to put it out for my own sake. And it might not be useful for other people, but that's one of the traps that I think is holding me back, is like judging everything I'm doing through its utility to other people now that have made the intention to exchange again. And like that's a really interesting shift to me, because prior to 3 months ago, which again was like, as background context, I burned out in December of 2024. And when I realized pretty quickly, like my whole goal from the beginning was to like consult and work in my former industry and find a way slowly to a different life. And that just wasn't an option for me. I was not able to do anything for quite some time, pretty much. And so I had to kind of look at my situation and decide how long before I like have to figure this out. I'm explaining. I don't need to explain. I'm going to cut that probably. Do I need to cut it? That's the thing, is part of me doesn't want to. No, but I did want to. Okay, yeah. I want to speak from a place of aliveness. So I want to cut things that don't feel alive, because I'm going to get into moments where it doesn't feel alive. I think that's what I want. I don't know. I think so, because I think I want to give myself the ability to be imperfect, but also the ability to like, sometimes and to be raw and real, but sometimes something feels like it's exposing kind of like an unprocessed underbelly. I think that's a big tension for me, is I'm wanting to share like the reality and kind of the rawness of my experience, but that feels really vulnerable. And a lot of that, I think, has stayed hidden because I don't know what I'm saying right now. Maybe I should just talk about how I feel while I'm painting this. I don't know. I thought I'd come on here and explain what I'm doing. But maybe I can't. Maybe I can't split my attention like that. Maybe that's the lesson I'm learning. I don't know. I do think I like being able to be present with the painting. Struck by how I want this to be smoother, and it's not. This is this art show is arguably the biggest like kind of thing, especially that like I actually know people are going to see, that I've done since I burned out. You know, I put a number of things out on the internet, but this is going to be like in person in the small community I live in, and a community that I'm new to. And that's just brought up like a lot, just starting to make it. Especially because I still don't really know what I want my art to look like. It looks very different than it used to, but I don't necessarily feel like it's like arrived. And I'm really like, it's bringing up a lot to do. I mean, all of this is the video making, just the intention to labor again. And I really don't know where I'm going. And I don't know if what I'm doing is like going to lead me there or not. Because again, it's like, okay, I want to build a relationship with my own creative process. Like I want to be able to be present in it and not I keep feeling my brain freeze up as I'm talking. I'm not sure how much is the painting or how much is just that I really don't quite know how to talk about this stuff. Yeah, I think I spent a lot of time trying to sort of talk about it more packaged, or maybe like be a little too raw isn't the right word, because I don't really think that's like, but I think there were times earlier on in this process where like I kind of used, is that true? I think I'm gonna get harsh on myself. That's what definitely. Yeah, I think I have to let myself edit this because I just don't want to. I'm still, when I do these videos, I critique myself and I'm harsh on myself, or I don't know, I have these weird things that come out around other people that I've been paying more attention to, like a kind of way that I feel like I default to engaging with other people that is kind of bizarre, because I feel like I got to this place of like ability to express from myself and my own experience in the past year, and then just intending to exchange for resources again, like tainted that or made it kind of disappear. Okay, what happens if I just talk about what's happening here rather than analyze? It's cool to watch the paint colors change. I feel like this is almost assuredly not going to show up on camera because these are neon pigments. So they are very luminous, and I'm doing something called optical mixing, where you don't mix the pigments in advance of putting them on the surface. You mix them like you do one, let it dry, and then mix it over, and there's a different quality of light that comes out when you do that versus when you mix the color together while they're still wet. And so I'm kind of doing a different order of things to get different colors and different gradations I'm layering. It's I think I do need to post some form of this video, which is hard. But I've been hiding so much of what I've just realized how much has happened in the past year and how much I've only been putting out like things when I really feel good about them and really feel like they're like the best of what I'm doing. And I'm just realizing that I'm not going to get where I want to go if I keep doing things that way. Like, it's really mortifying to me how much I think my ability to get somewhere is going to be dependent on me just like really sucking up a lot of like what is and sucking up a lot of what is hard for me, what I in the past would have like avoided with a 10-foot pole, and essentially by just letting myself be like legitimately cringe. And I even made a video last year that was like kind of polished about being cringe, which is ironic now that I think about it. And I don't malign, like I've had a lot of stages of this journey that I look back on and see like the kind of gaffes I was making, for lack of a better term. I don't really think that the word mistake is right, but like a lot of what I have been trying to do is reorient to how I express. But so much of like that is, I think, really colored by norms of expression that were taught to me that have been so embedded in me my whole life, and of like engaging to other people. Like that's the thing, is I'm trying to reorient to 3 different things that I have a really long history of very kind of extractive, instrumentalizing relationships with. Like I have spent my whole life instrumentalizing my own self and creativity for like what looks good to the outside observer. I spent my whole life arguably looking at other people the same way, and so not really meeting people, but like viewing them as, comparing myself to them, viewing them as like competition, or like putting myself in them in various hierarchies, sometimes, ones where I feel worse than, sometimes ones where I feel better than. Energy, like I think I have, quite frankly, probably what I'm realizing has been really afraid of my own energy. And like, I think now a lot about my anxiety is almost this outlet where I'm like expending my energy. I'm wasting my power essentially because I'm like afraid of it. Like that's what I've kind of started to view a lot of my anxiety and rumination as. It's just like, and doubt is just this like kind of outlet that drains my energy because don't know how to hold my power. I don't know where I was going with that. I can't remember. Well, yeah, and I mean, even with this, I think making these videos has been, for me, more than anything else. And I think that's like, I don't know, I think that's the interesting thing, is I feel like all this journey to finding the career I want I don't know where I was going to go with that. I started analyzing, and that's normally, not always, but normally that's a sign that I'm like leaving a state of presence with my body, because I'm trying to like make myself legible. But then like a part of me is just like, how am I ever going to, like, don't I need, like, I think one thing that I'm still not really sure on is like, how much do I need to make myself legible to exchange for resources? And I think like legibility is one of the biggest things that I've been thinking a lot about. But I'm not even sure that legibility is the right word for it. I think like, is that the right word for it? I don't know. I don't know if that's really, that might be the proxy that I'm using. I have so much tension in my body right now. Maybe I can talk about this piece. So I got in an art show. Yeah, I applied for this art show. There's like a whole it's been the biggest thing in the last couple of weeks. And there's like a whole story about some like, like, is this a story I can tell succinctly? There's just so many things that are interconnected too that sometimes I don't know where to start, because it feels like I pull on one thread and then like everything comes, like I don't know how to share what's going on in a way that is like, this is where I do think the legibility comes into play. I can't finish, but I don't need to be mad at myself. I don't need to be mad at myself. See, normally I want to berate myself for the fact that I am inaccessible to people in the way that I communicate. And I just don't think that's really useful. Like, that's not the relationship I want to have with myself. I don't think it's particularly useful. But I do want to reach other people. And that's, I guess, the thing I had to say on that. I am very curious what I'll end up doing. Like, I have a lot of experiments going, many more than I am able to share. Because one of the things, like, again, in deciding how I want to work, we're trying to build the relationships with these aspects that I think make up work, the exchange of energy itself, essentially the kind of field in which my work exists, the communal field. Where does it actually want to belong? I think I've spent a lot of my life trying to force my work into places it didn't belong, because I thought that that was the only option. And now I'm more like, okay, I sort of think that there are places and people who would resonate with what I do. Like, you know, and part of what I'm realizing is if I want to find them, I have to like send out some sort of signal. I also forgot what I was going to say there. I forget my train of thought a lot, and it's when shame comes up or fear. And so that's another thing that I just have to like allow. So much of this is literally just about like allowing myself to be exactly as I am, like, and that's really great and really hard simultaneously. Like, I spent a lot of my life wanting to be somebody different than I was. And now I'm trying to lean into like the inclinations I have. But there's a lot of shame. Like, I've shamed so many parts of myself for so long because I thought that's, you know, how I kind of like masked for so long and got by in our world. And I also lost my train of thought there. Sometimes one of the things that I am trying to change more as well, that might have been sort of why I lost my train of thought, I don't know, is I think I spent a lot of my career to date fighting against what I didn't like in the world, but I wasn't really spending my time like looking at what I actually did want there to be more of. And I think that's, again, a lot of why I've chosen this kind of path to figuring out my work is, I guess in theory, if I just keep trying to do things and experimenting with things to see how do I want to relate to myself and my own ways of working, how do I want to relate to other people, and how do I want to relate to like energy itself, and how can I keep nurturing the relationship in that nature and pursuing them. How can I keep pursuing those quality relationships that I want? I'm losing my train of thought again. I'm tired, honestly. It's been a draining couple weeks. Like, this is really more than I have done in a long time, and it's a lot less than I used to do in many ways. I really can't work the way that I used to. I really like, oops, that is oil paint. Whoops, that is definitely not the right paint. Hold on, I gotta wash this brush out now. Damn it. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. That's the kind of thing I would have been mad at myself for in the past. So I actually kind of do want to answer the question that I was asked, because I like a question of like, what kind of work do I want to do? I want to do probably work that relates to expression. Like, that is one thing that I want to see more of in the world. And I'm, again, trying to think more about what I want to build more of in the world rather than what I want to fight against. Because that's what I did in all of my work to date. And I really actually found myself not enjoying the day-to-day nature of that work, which is maybe a separate thing than whether it's a fighting against or building something you want. But I do think in general that building what I want is more what I want to do. And I can sort of like, there's reasons for that are pretty, everything that I'm doing is like pretty thought out, or like intuited out, maybe in some situations is a better way of putting it. But there is like an intention and a reason behind everything. But yeah, so I want to do work that's more focused on what I want to build. And one of the things that I think I really do believe in is like expression, in the sense of like, what is actually your inner world like, not what not what scripts have you been told to say, not are you parroting some external authority figure, but how do you find your own inner expression? Like, that's something that I would be interested in contributing to help other people with, potentially. But I have to be honest too that like I have a lot of kind of, I think, doubts or hesitancies about any work that's about sort of helping. And that probably just comes from the fact that I see, after doing that in varying orientations for my whole life, that there's problems, I think, with how that is structured. I'm done painting, but I feel like there's more that I want to say. Done this round of painting at least. Okay, well, I'm going to wash the brush, and then if I want to keep talking, I'm going to go talk in a different room because I can do whatever I want.